probably have forgotten more about this story than I'll ever know, because in some ways I don't know their experience as deer hunters, but I certainly know that you can't really replicate being part of the family. And so to me, it's a great honor for me personally to be able to even attend any event where you might have someone who is related to posthumously the guest of honor, which of course would be Jim Jordan. So as I look at this opportunity, it is very rare, probably unprecedented, probably never happen again. And so I think it's a great chance for us all to just get to hear directly from people who have heard the story more, and certainly in richer detail and knowing more of the players than I personally could ever know. And so if you guys would introduce yourselves. I don't know who all here knows everybody that's up here. Possibly you all do, but for the record, I guess it would be good for everyone here to introduce themselves and express what their direct relationship is to Jim Jordan.
Lenny Jordan, and Jim Jordan is my great uncle.
Yeah, my name is Rich Jordan, and Jim Jordan was my uncle.
I'm Maria Nichols, and Jim Jordan was my grandfather. And he did know that was his deer. He didn't need Bone and Crockett to tell him. Well, I don't know. My brother knows that we grew up hearing the story to the point that you hear something so much, you just want to turn it off. And of course, when the horns came back, then it was definitely the story again and again and again. But my grandfather told so many stories, some so far-fetched that you really wondered a lot about them. My brother and I, we kind of laughed because of the story over only I had one shell left. And we laugh about that one a lot. But what I remember is not this. I remember going up to my grandfather's, and the guys would be all up there going to go hunting, and they'd go out the first morning and come back in, and Grandpa would look over by the trees and go, none hanging, huh? So those are things I remember, but what I really remember is my dad and my grandpa going hunting for food. And I was little, Ronnie wasn't born yet, and I was in the bathtub getting ready to go night-night. And my grandpa and my dad came out with their guns. And Dad said to Grandpa, you go this way, you go that way, and if you see Jordan Gregg, no, if any of you are old enough, you will know who Jordan Gregg is. And they took off, and away they went, and bang, bang, came back in the house and sat down like nothing had happened. An hour later, Grandma's getting all the canning stuff out in my room, and they're getting going. They get a quarter of it in, they start cutting it up, and of course I'm sitting there watching them. And Dad says, be damned at that Jordan, God damn him, he says. Grandpa says, I'm gonna tell him I'm feeding my family, and if he don't like it, he can put me in jail. So he comes up to the door and he says, you got a deer in there, Arnie? And my dad says, do we have a deer in there, Jim? And Grandpa says, nope. You got any questions? Come back later. And that was it. So that's kind of what I remember. It isn't as historical as this, and yes, I know it's all over the country because my husband and I have traveled. And I had a jacket that had the buck on it. And very good friends of ours in Florida that we had met, his son came down and he said, where'd you get that jacket? And I said, my mom. Well, that's Jordan Buck. And I went, yeah. Because to us, it's the Jordan Buck, and it's not what it means to a lot of you. It's just a replica of Grandpa and the things. So that's what I remember. Is that good enough?
That's good enough.
Thank you.
Well, story. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody here tonight that I've talked to. And it certainly makes you proud to hear all the things from people that would come up and tell you how much this Jordan Buck, means to them. And Jim, Uncle Jim, being my uncle, I mean, I couldn't be prouder to be a Jordan and to be related to him. And tonight, I have my brother Tom is here, and I've got my son David and my grandson and my son-in-law, and Lenny here, my nephew, and Dennis. And so we're all proud to be here. And as far as a lot of stories, I mean, every time I've ever went there with my dad, who was Jim's brother, we'd go up to the bar, the tavern there, and you couldn't wait just to hear him talk and tell you about all the stories, not only about the Jordan Buck, but all of his hunting experiences and trapping and pulpwood and whatever. You know, he really was quite the outdoorsman. And it was just a big thrill for us to even be there and to be related to him. I mean, it's just a great thing. And to hear finally that he was recognized, you know, as the one that had shot, that was just, couldn't have been nicer. And I think everyone here that put this on, I think they did a fantastic job. And I want to thank Mike. I've talked to him several times, and just really proud and happy to be here and to see all the people here that are so eager, you know, to see the buck and to hear the stories. Thank you.
My name's Lenny Jordan, and my situation's a little unique because the Jordan family's from Ogama Township, where Jim had his bar, and my grandfather grew up there, and my dad spent his summers up there, and along with my other uncles, and my mother was from Danbury, and another bar there. So I was always stopping at bars, and every time deer hunting came, my dad would take me along, and we'd have to stop at Jim Jordan's. And after about 3 years, my dad said, if he starts talking about that buck again, let's get out of there. And it was just, the stories were just tremendous. And when the story broke on the Outdoor Life, I think Outdoor Life, the magazine, Ron Scherer, I was doing his wife's hair at the time. And I'd heard this story so many times, and she said, are you related to Jim Jordan? I said, yeah, it's my uncle. She said, well, my husband's doing a story on him. And I said, really? And they said they recognized him as the guy. And my jaw hit the ground. I was like, oh, it was true. And I'm, like Rich, real proud to be here. And it seems like this is bigger than it was 10 years ago. I mean, Rich didn't tell you about, he went to pick up a golf cart in, where were you?
Oh, in Egan.
In Egan, and the guy wanted his autographs on the picture when he found out it was Jordan. So I thank you guys for coming, and it's really been a pleasure. Thank you.
I couldn't feel right about leaving this place without saying thanks, Mom.
Yep.
Because my mom was so proud, wasn't she, Ron, of this buck, that if Grandpa could tell you stories, so could she. So I know she's here tonight, and I just want to say thanks, Mom.
I'd like to talk about her, too. Her fault. That woman had hats in her trunk with the Jordan Buck, sweatshirts, coats, the pictures, the ones that's back here for sale, all the prints. She always sold stuff. She had them at the casino early on in the casino, remember, Ron? And would sell stuff in the casino. She was so proud. I just miss that woman. She was just great.
You know, that you cannot make this kind of stuff up, and it is so rare to hear this even from relatives of hunters who shot deer 10 or 20 years ago. You don't normally, in other words, I know Milo Hansen, who holds the world record right now, and I know him and his family, but they don't have this kind of spirit, if you will, a sense of pride. They're proud of their deer, but there's a special nature to this deer, just partly because it is a century, but I think there's something about the Wisconsin hunting culture as well. I mean, you know, there's no other, to my knowledge, no other major sports, you know, state in anywhere that has one of its professional teams named after a buck. I mean, that's pretty hardcore, okay? So there's a lot of places that they may not even know what the buck means, but in Wisconsin, they know what that buck means. And so to me, if you talk to people like family members and they say, boy, that really brings back memories, or talking about the deer brings back memories of relatives, if you think about it, that's a lot of why we all hunt anyway. It's the human part of the hunt as well as the hunting part. I mean, we're all out there enjoying nature, but our ability to tell stories back and forth and trade memories with each other, that is just so special, and it's something that stays with you for literally for generations, as you can see. A question for all of you guys that I would have was, clearly as this story faded away at some point in the past, and then it came back to life because the buck was found again, and as you say, it corroborated all the wild stories that Uncle Jim was telling. Sure enough, they were true. Do you recall in there, as the memorabilia itself, obviously the antlers came back, but some of the other aspects related to the hunt, the rifle and things, and maybe the old hunting boots and knives and stuff, did any of that ever survive, or did it all just fade away?
Faded away. I know I've been asked about the gun, and I asked my brother, and he said that it was sold a long time ago. Now, he does have a rifle shell, right, Ron?
Yeah, the shell.
Ron has the shell. I have to say, in Grandpa's generation, a gun was a gun. It was not a trophy. It was just a gun that you went and you hunted with. And I know my favorite gun, and it's crazy, but I like a 22. That's because that's probably what I learned to shoot first. But a gun is a gun, and it's the same way kind of still in our family. Our grandsons hunt. It's a gun. You know, it's not the gun that does this or that, so there's no emphasis on guns. But I think that hunting also keeps a family together. I see it in my grandkids especially. My son comes and he hunts with his two nephews, and they are so close, and he's physically handicapped. So they make stands for him to get into, and you just see the family part of it. And that's kind of what it's all about.
Well, it is well stated that, you know, back when times were simpler. They certainly were simpler. You did most things because you had to, or you needed to, or because your family needed something. It isn't because you just wanted to go take a week off and go hunting. You went hunting because that put food on the table. And we know that era, in many ways, in parts of America, is no longer the case. People, you know, hunting is dying out in certain parts of the country and certain parts of the world. And yet we see places like northern Wisconsin and other places in the Great Lakes region in particular where people are still very much rooted to the land. People are very much rooted to family as well. And you put those two together, and hunting is a perfect way to enjoy both and to keep that tradition alive. Mike, do you have any other question you want to ask the family here?
I still hunt on the Jordan property.
Have you shot another Jordan buck?
No, but I still hunt on the property, and I still hunt on the same stands that was shown to me by him. And I have shot bucks off of those stands.
Up by the bar there, right?
Well,
Right by his homestead.
I have another story, though.
Okay, one more story.
I'm sorry, but I just remember one year, this is after my husband started hunting, because my husband didn't hunt, and I won't tell. But I went up for hunting, and I had a baby, so I couldn't hunt, and I told my cousin and friends, I said, I can't hunt. And he said, well, get your husband up there. Well, he didn't know how to hunt. But anyhow, the guys had all come in, and I don't know if they'd gotten anything or not. But Grandpa had a big mirror that went across the bar, right across. The bar went this way. And behind them was a window. And 4 or 5 of the guys are sitting in there, and they're looking out at the mirror, and they go, when the hell did you put something in there that moves? Look at those deer moving. And here, their deer were going across the field right behind, in front of the window. Well, you've never seen so many, idiots, running for their guns when the deer are long across the road and way back the other way. But it was so funny. That's the stories you can think of.
You know, I think it's nice tonight too. Some of the Davises are here. Egus Davis is sitting at the table over there. And
Yes, over there.
yeah, and how nice it was to see them here tonight and talk to them. And I had the privilege of meeting Egus and was really thankful for that. And definitely thankful. I remember Uncle Jim, though, when I'd go up there with my dad, sometime we'd get in his car, and he had a spotlight, and he'd just take you out and just show you all these deer. And yeah, my Uncle Jim. I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh,
when
they
you go out-
didn't just look.
yeah. But it was just really great. And to have a group like this here, I mean, it's just really unbelievable and so nice to see, and makes you proud.
Bump into people like this, you could do whatever, but for it to really come together the way it has, I can tell you, I live right outside of Atlanta, and yesterday to get up here was probably one of my 5 worst travel days of my life. I finally got here last night in the middle of the snow that didn't stay. But it stayed long enough to make it hard to drive from Brainerd, where I started out. After I got from Atlanta to Minneapolis and drove to Brainerd, then I drove to here and got here in the middle of the night. And at some point there, you're kind of thinking, you know, is this going to be worth it or not? Because, I mean, I'm not going hunting. I'm just going to kind of go look at where somebody else went hunting. That's not quite as inspiring, you know, but as it turned out, if you say, never mind how bad yesterday was for travel, today, walking the Jordan Buck Heritage Hike, stopping at all the markers and seeing where things happened and knowing what I know about the story and how inspired I've been by it for so many years, and then to come here and see all of this and then talk and literally be right here with people who are related to that lineage of hunters and great outdoorsmen. For me personally, again, an honor, and I cannot thank you all enough for attending and helping everyone else enjoy the man and the deer that they've all come to know. Thank you so much.